All right. Hi, everyone. It is me, Sailor Venus, Sailor V, Sailor Hellish World, Mina here. And today we're going to talk about um, Sailor Moon being on UPN and WB and why it didn't quite work out very well. Um, yeah, as we know, that when Sailor Moon first came to the 4-1 Reichs, it was on, UPN and WB, and this would have been in between 95 YL, where those in the settled land got to see Sailor Moon on YTV, and that was the only folk work that had a deal in a settled land with YTV. Anyway, in the 4-1 Reichs, it was UPN and WB, and they did not, they did not really do good work. First off, the only times that they gave to Sailor Moon, depending on what UPN or WB you had, it would be 5 or 5:30 in the morning, 6 or 6:30 in the morning, and a lot of folks call those dead broadcast blocks or times, a time where nothing is being broadcasted except for long showings. A showing that really is a full, real, they call it in showings that are longer than the smaller showings. And at 5 and 6 in the morning, very few folks were awake, or they were getting up. So UPN made a mistake there, thinking that folks, or at least thinking that children were going to be awake at that time or getting up at that time. So the watching didn't do very well. And if you're a folk work, and if UPN and WB wanted folks to buy Showtime during that show, well, it was going to be cheap. So right off, it didn't do very well due to having a bad time, where it was put on. And I think that when it came to Dee Glee at the time, which by that time was owned by the Walt Disney business at that time, it was like take it or leave it. Because many other shows that were already on UPN and WB didn't want to shift their time to make way for some new drawing show. So it didn't do very well. And it is true that I did see some of them back in the day. Some of them on UPN and WB. Didn't think anything of it. Watched it. That was the end of it. And the watch time did not do so well that by the half of the 2 day following, UPN and WB chose to drop it. And that's where a lot of folks would think that it didn't. That's where a lot of folks would say the truth that no, it didn't do very well in the 4-1 Reichs due to that. And it wasn't a bad show. I mean, I liked it. I thought it did very well. But the ownership and leadership of UPN, now CW, and WB, now CW2, did not, want to give it a good time slot. If they would have given it a more good time, then I guess it would have done a little more good. So then Sailor Moon's English work at that time got a bad name for, oh, well, look at this show. No one liked it. It didn't do very well. Why should we have it on our folk work? And that wasn't true. It was that UPN and WB did not give it a good time to be on. Unlike YTV in the settled land that gave it a good time. And as time went on, as time would go on, it would then go, from UPN and WB, and then USA would get the rights to Sailor Moon and 9 between 97 YL, and it did all right. It did very well. I mean, 7:30, Moon Day through Thursday, good time. I think a lot of folks were up around that time and did see it. But at the same time, USA was going through a shift of ownership and leadership once again, and has been for many of its years. And the new ownership and new leadership felt that drawing shows for children, no need which land they came from, would not fit the folk work anymore. So Sailor Moon was dropped due to that. And it leads us to cartoon or drawing show folk work, which gave Sailor Moon a good time. 5:30 in the evenings, and it did very well. And a lot of folks might say, well, why did Sailor Moon do so well with Cartoon Network or Drawing Show Folk Work, but didn't do so well with UPN or WB or USA? Well, like I said, two folk works didn't want to give our show a good time. Another folk work felt that it no longer, ownership and leadership felt that drawing shows no longer fit. And the other one, who had already had a deal with other drawing shows, some that they owned and some of them they had broadcast deals with, was willing to give Sailor Moon, was willing to work with it. But at the end of the day, it was a little too late. And even though Sailor Moon even though a lot of folks may have watched it on Cartoon Network or Drawing Show Folk Work more than with, say, on WB or UPN, and maybe even more than on USA, at the end of the day, why do you think that UPN and WB didn't do very well with Sailor Moon? Why do you think USA did well, but then dropped it due to a shift of ownership and leadership? Why do you think Cartoon or Drawing Show, why do you think they were the only folk work to do right by it and to have a longer broadcast deal with it? All right, that's the end of this film. If you want to watch the film where my friend Sailor Jupiter, Sailor King-Rilled Lita talked about going out, then by all means watch that film if you want to. And I'll see you later.